at Carlik Jones, he was born and raised in Cincinnati, Ohio, which I think is in the United States, because his mother was from Sudan, okay? So you had that connection that brought him back to his mother's homeland to play for their team, South Sudan. So he led the G League in scoring. He was the MVP of the G League. He's had his cups of coffee around the NBA. And to your point, I hope he's back just off that game alone. He went 15, 11, and 11.
Wow.
And that Maluch, who's going to Duke, I saw flashes where I say, wait a second, could he be the first pick? He might. I think right now ESPN has him as the third overall pick going into next year. Okay, we'll see what happens when he goes to Duke. The point is, with Wenyen Gabriel, you've got some talent, and then it comes down to this. I'm going to say it again. These games especially, and you should appreciate this, they just become three-point shooting contests where they made 14 of 33 and we made 7 of 28. Well, guess what's going to happen? It's going to be close. If they outshoot you by 7 from the line, like your Boston Celtics would outshoot everybody from the line, you just have to do the math, and all of a sudden you say, uh-oh, that's 21 points more that they scored from the three-point line, because they were hot and Steph was not hot. He was 3 of 9. And it's starting to feel like we kind of go as Steph sets the tone. You know, if he can get hot like he did against Serbia, then you're gold. You're golden, right? Because he sets a tone that everybody can feed off. And yet it came down to LeBron. I got to say, LeBron played an extraordinary basketball game for his stage and age of his career, because he looked...
The second half.
He was the best player on the floor.
Absolutely.
And so we come down to the last 2 plays, and I was applauding him, because I've sat here for 20 years saying, just, if it comes to this situation, just put your head down and drive it, because nobody can keep you from the rim. And it seemed like this regular basketball season, the NBA season, he got more and more comfortable with, look, if they foul me, I'm going to go make those free throws, which he didn't used to be all that comfortable with. And here it was again. And so he's up against that kid Thor, who played at Auburn and he was playing for Charlotte last year and got some minutes. But if we could see the LeBron drive here, he just said, nope, I'll blow right by you, and I'll go ahead, I'll shoot a right-handed layup. So Thor was so blown by, he couldn't even stop a right-handed layup from on a left-handed drive. And yet the play, Paul, there to me is, if you're Thor, and this game didn't count, but if you're really going for the gold here, you have to tackle LeBron and just, right? I mean, it's just the only way to go. It's just the only way to go. If he gets you by step, just tackle him and wrap him up and hope he doesn't out-muscle you and just get the ball up anyway, and make him shoot the free throws, because they're down 1, so he'd have to make the 2 to win, 1 to tie, okay? So then it goes to the other end, and I'm like hiding my eyes, because Carlik has the ball in his hands against Drew Holiday, and he actually got a step, and it looks to me like Anthony Davis saved the game here, because he's just playing zone as you can, and just comes up and over and made him shoot it a little high, and he actually airballed it off the glass, right? He didn't even touch iron off the glass. And then Wenyen Gabriel gets the ball, and I don't know, it's crazy under there. You maybe
you could argue you got fouled right here on the putback, but they're not going to make that call at the end of the game.
They're not going to call that, right?
No.
Okay. So in the end, you step back and say, well, if we only make 7 threes, we're in danger, right? It just feels like that.
I mean, absolutely. I mean, they have to make shots, period. The three-point line is a little closer from what I believe in the NBA
it's a
line.
foot closer,
Yeah, and so, you know, they have a number of shooters. So I think, but the main concern, you got to make threes, is defensively for me. You know, the U.S. is a little older with LeBron and Curry out there. You know, those are the elder statesmen. And then think about this. If you bring KD back and you put him in the start line, you get older. So Curry's going to have to make some real interesting decisions on who to start, because I think you're going to have to add a little more youth. And then you throw Embiid, who looks like sometimes he's about 35 years old, the way he moves. You know, you have to come to a tough decision to, like, hey, do I go with some of my younger players who are more athletic that are better in making the rotations to these guys out for 3? And I think that's a decision Kerr is going to have to make, instead of, hey, you know, I'm going to start these guys out of respect, and then bring this other, like he started the defensive unit the second half.
did.
But like, you don't want to put yourself in a hole like this against a very good team when the Olympics start and find yourself having to claw back once again like they did tonight, because you could be in trouble if you continue going at it like at this rate. So I think there's going to be some difficult decisions that's going to be made in this starting lineup. Do you start Embiid? Do you start? Well, there's no way you're not starting LeBron.
Yes.
There's no way you're not starting Curry. So I don't know what the answer is here. Do you say, hey, we're just going to do this anyway? We got enough depth and talent that we're gonna come back anyway if we do.
Well, last week your mantra was just close your eyes and pick 5 and they'll win, right?
Yeah, I mean,
and you
I
don't think
feel that
that's happening anymore?
I'm just not so sure, Skip. Like you said, the three-point line just makes such a difference. Like you said, if you're not hot from three, you know, Jason Tatum hasn't been shooting the ball in particularly well. And, you know, it's just tough to get rhythm on the USA team because you have so many guys. Do you say, hey, look, we're going to play through LeBron? You know, do you define that and say, hey, you guys fall into place? Because everybody feels like they're the man. And so when you have that type of mentality, it's like, okay, your turn. Now it's your turn. Now it's your turn. Now there's no ball movement. There's no extra passes.
Absolutely.
Which we saw from South Sudan. They was on a string. Boom, boom, boom. Find the open guys. And the U.S. second unit plays like that a little more than the first unit.
Yeah, and look, there's no question that LeBron has been handed the keys to this team. I don't think it's a question at all.
That's an amazing statement you just made.
Well, that's what I was going to say, is that he's turning 40 later this year.
Yeah.
And we all remember Kobe's last Olympics when he was like 6 or 7 years younger, and he acquitted himself fine. It's not like Kobe had a bad Olympics, but he was definitely sort of the elder statesman on the team, and the younger guys with a bigger, you know, sort of presence in those Olympic team and those Olympic games. That's not LeBron here. And I thought it was interesting what Steve Kerr said when they were going after the game about going into the second half. He said that the decision to start the more defensive unit, he said LeBron was clearly ticked off, he said. He said you could see him when I looked down the bench, you could see him chafing to get back in the lineup. And I think things like that are the things that motivate LeBron James and are still motivating him at nearly 40 years old. As for the lineups, Paul, the Embiid question is going to be the biggest thing I think that they have to face. I know that they really love the Bam Adebayo, Anthony Davis combination in that second unit and are loath to break that up. So I don't know what they're going to do there. I don't think in general, though, the lineup is the reason that they came so close to losing this game. They didn't play defense for much of the first half. And every player you just named can play at least some defense.
Well, I don't think the lineup is built. This lineup is not built for defense. And what I mean by that is, yes, can Embiid guard his man one-on-one in the post? Yeah, he could do a pretty good job. But in international play where they put you in a lot of rotations, when you got LeBron, Curry, and Embiid, and it's causing you to run from one side of the court constantly to the other side of the court, it's really not to their advantage. So I think they need a little more speed in that aspect. So, you know, maybe start Bam instead of Embiid and put Bam with a faster perimeter unit.
Good.
You know what I mean? So just as a whole, that group, the switching is different because you can't ask Embiid to switch on the guards all night long. His best defensive prowess is in the lane.
Yeah.
You don't want to keep him right there. Whereas Anthony Davis, you could kind of venture out on the perimeter, guard some of the point guards, the wingmen, Bam also. So it's a decision they might have to make based on who they're playing.
Yeah.
You know, it may not be the same starting lineup which we've seen in the exhibition season. You know, they've changed it up. So maybe we'll see the same thing in the Olympics.
Well, Steve Kerr does have the ultimate designated defender because he went to Drew Holiday for the last possession.
Oh, man.
But Carly got a step on him because he got in the lane, and then Anthony Davis bothered the shot, right? By the way, before we leave LeBron behind, I would like to congratulate him because he was voted by all the USA athletes to be the flag bearer at the opening ceremonies for the entire USA contingent, not just for basketball, but for everybody. And the opening ceremonies are Friday night, and I think that is richly deserved.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's our most recognizable American, probably one of the most recognizable people in all of the world. So, I mean, it makes sense.
It's voted on by their peers. It's voted on by the other U.S. Olympians. It usually goes to someone who's played in multiple Olympics, a veteran. And we'll see a female flag bearer also named in the next couple days. But LeBron is the first male basketball player ever from Team USA
Pretty cool.
to have this honor. And when you think about the guys who have played basketball for Team USA, that he's the first one. I mean, it really is a substantial thing. I did want to make a point, though. You mentioned about Royale Ivy.
Yeah.
Royale Ivy, right? The previous coach, the last time that they were really bothered by an African country was Nigeria, and that was Coach Mike Brown, obviously decorated coach of the year, right? These teams, even the ones that are, quote, bad, not as good, 40-point underdogs, whatever you want to say, like they're influenced by the NBA game so much, the Luol Dengs, all of those guys, that again, there is no cakewalk anymore, even with LeBron James.
Okay, so we have to play in real games that count. We open with Serbia next Sunday.
Okay.
And it's obviously Joker. And then 3 days later on Wednesday, we have to deal with these guys, with South Sudan in our group play before we get to Puerto Rico, okay? So it's not a cakewalk. These games, and you got to get out of group play to get to this single elimination, obviously.
And the one concern for me, which South Sudan presented, is this, they could have presented possibly a blueprint on maybe how to defeat the U.S. Hey, move the ball, make the extra pass, let's play fast, get threes up, because they're just not that athletic out front, you know.
Well, this is going to be a very different team once Kevin Durant is playing also. We just kind of have to remember that.
They also get older, Rach.
Yeah, they do.
They get a lot older.
I agree.
And so, and on top of that, that these teams are not afraid. This is like their year.
That's probably the number one thing.
That's
They're
the
just
number
not
one.
afraid. They're not intimidated.
They're not at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're going to take a picture with LeBron and Katie after the game, but all that before the game, they're not doing that. Like the Dream Team, they came up taking pictures in the layup line. Like, here, let's take a picture now before the game's over. They're like, we'll wait till after the game.
Yeah. I wish Keyshawn were here to defend his man, Ant-Man, because I got to tell you, I know it's just a practice game, but Anthony Edwards did not show up. He was not into it. Isn't he our youngest? I assume he's our youngest player.
Yeah.
So he just was like, nah. He took your attitude of, nah.
Against them. They just took them lightly.
Yeah, right.
The whole team did.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, the whole team did.
The whole team did. When you come in and you, but see, the thing is, South Sudan has NBA DNA, and that's what they should have recognized, where I didn't. I didn't realize who fingerprints was all on this Royal Ivy, Luol Deng, you know, William Gabriel, you know, they have DNA over there, and I didn't realize that. So my apologies again, South Sudan.